Well, happy Monday, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and that you were in church Sunday. If not, go to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, or to the church's website and watch the service from this past week. Today we are in Psalm 11. Psalm 11. And while you're turning there, I just want to say that 40 years ago this week, I was getting ready to get married. That's right. This March 27, Monique and I will be celebrating 40 years of marriage. So that's where my mind was 40 years ago this week, getting married. And it's been a wonderful 40 years. All right, Psalm 40. I wanted to throw that positive in there because many of these early Psalms written by David are kind of discouraging, as I mentioned a few days ago, because they deal with hardship he was facing as there were people trying to kill him. The historical setting was that many of these were written before he became king, when King Saul, after he kind of lost his mind, was trying to kill David. And you remember David spent probably about 7 years on the run hiding from King Saul, hiding in caves. He spent about 16 months in living among the Philistines. His life was at risk. And then, of course, the earlier two Psalms we looked at last week, where after he was king, his son Absalom led a rebellion against him. So David faced some tough times. I mean, and if you had to deal with all that and spent 7+ years having to run for your life, you probably would have had some times you had some kind of hard prayers. And that's what we see reflected in some of these early Psalms. And in this one in verse 2, Psalm 11, verse 2, David notes the danger he faced by saying, "For behold, the wicked bend the bow. They make ready their arrow upon the string to shoot in darkness at the upright in heart." David had done nothing wrong to Saul, but Saul and his soldiers were set on killing David. That was the circumstance he lived with. But through all of that, what's really encouraging is that David never lost his faith. Through all of that, even when given opportunity, David never retaliated against Saul. And he did have opportunity to kill Saul, but he never did that. He never retaliated against the king. He kept his faith, and that caused him to do what was righteous through those difficult years of hiding. Notice what he writes in verse 1. "In the Lord I take refuge." That's what King David said. In the midst of all these 7 years of hiding, in the Lord I take refuge. He was not turning his back on God. Verse 4, "The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in the heavens. His eyes behold, his eyelids test the sons of men." God in heaven sees me. He knows me. He knows my heart. He knows my reality. He knows my circumstance. Verse 5, "The Lord tests the righteous and the wicked, and the one who loves violence his soul hates." David said, "I'm being tested. This is a difficult time, but I'm going to remain righteous because God hates those who do violence, those who turn to wickedness and sin during hard times. I'm going to stay righteous. I'm going to maintain my commitment and my dignity and my honor and my good deeds, even when life is very, very difficult." And then he ends it in verse 7, "For the Lord is righteous, and he loves righteousness. The upright will behold his face." It's as though David is saying, I want to be close to God, and I know in order to be close to God, I need to maintain my righteousness, my integrity, because that is who God honors and blesses. And if I try to take vengeance on Saul, if I turn to sin, if I let this make me bitter and angry, if I let this corrupt me, defeat me, then I lose even more. And I'm not going to let that happen, David says. Yes, life is hard, and it was for him for those 7+ years. But he never turned his back on his God. He never gave in to the fear and despair. He was honest about it, but he never let it defeat him. And don't you, if you're going through a hard time in life, be honest with God, but keep your faith, and keep your eyes on him, and don't you dare let it get the better of you. God bless you. I'll see you.